Alright everyone, let's do this. 10 things Battlefield players hate. This is just for fun, it's not serious, no complaints on my end, and of course, these don't apply to every single Battlefield player out there because, duh, people are different. I'm nothing like you, and that's why nobody likes you, or maybe why nobody likes me, whatever. The point is that these are some of the commonly most complained about things from Battlefield players. Let me know which one you most hate, and any you think I missed out in the comments below. Yes, I am still on the grind to 50k subscribers, thank you so much for asking. Currently it's about 47k at the time making this video, so if you want to help out with that push and see more content from me, hit that subscribe button and let's get into this. The first thing Battlefield players hate is playing that map. Yep, everyone has that map or set of maps they just can't stand playing on, to generally a more extreme degree than in other games. Battlefield has quite a range of different styles of maps, different sizes, different playstyles they adhere to and all of that, so of course there are going to be maps that just rub some players up all kinds of the wrong way. Let me know what yours is in the comments. Mine are basically the ones that get complained about by most players, the huge open ones, and as BF5 is the current game in the Battlefield franchise, I'll be using it as the example source for the vast majority of this video. So with that in mind, I obviously then generally hate playing on maps like Panzerstorm, Hamada, and that kind of experience. I've also heard a lot of people complain about Fiel and such like, but then there's the flip side of some people hating smaller maps and loving the bigger ones. Regardless, Battlefield players hate playing on that map, whatever it may be, and often way more than players of most other shooter games because of the reasons I just listed. Now, let's move on. Next up we have coming soon. Battlefield 5 specifically has conditioned its player base to recoil in horror anytime they hear the words coming soon. It became so well known, such a meme, so commonly discussed, that it even made it into the game itself. So at least DICE kind of, owned up to the issue. But yeah man, coming soon often didn't really mean coming soon. It usually meant something like coming sometime, or coming we think, or just coming maybe. And by this point, I'm totally over all of that. What's done is done, and now I'm just looking back and laughing at all of it. However, I really truly hope we don't have the same issue in the next Battlefield. That's the last thing players want, and any repeat of the meme making it into the game would be ridiculous rather than funny. But yeah, anyway, coming soon. Just 2 words, but they have such a story behind them, and most players hated it. Onwards, then we have any Battlefield that isn't their Battlefield. Let me explain. I'm showing BF1 here because I love BF1, and that shouldn't really affect anyone else, and yet it's almost inescapable in the Battlefield community, having people tell me it's bad, it's not Battlefield, it's casual, anytime I play it or bring it up or whatever it may be. Things like it was the start of the downfall of the series and all that kind of jazz. And you can find the same for Hardline, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 5, the list goes on. Each game has its fans, of course, but each game has this incredibly vocal minority who seemingly want nothing more than to stomp all over any Battlefield that isn't their favourite, their idea of what Battlefield is, any example that isn't their Battlefield. And it's all just kinda lame, just let people enjoy what they want to play. Like, I spent all of Battlefield 5's active life cycle covering the game, so of course I had a lot of negative aspects to talk about, and I covered them to the best degree I could, as well as the positives, and I think the game was a pretty shameful example of a AAA service, but I wouldn't dream of telling people not to play it. I wouldn't claim that the people who enjoy it aren't real Battlefield fans, because that's just stupid basically. Like, what a waste of everyone's time. Just enjoy what you enjoy. Of course this happens on other games as well. When I mention Destiny 2, I get people telling me it's bad or dead or whatever, which is mad considering it's super successful in reality. Or when I have a dabble in Warzone or whatever, people tell me not to, but it seems to be made so much worse by Battlefield players. And I'm sure many of you can relate to what I'm saying, just constantly being told what you can and can't enjoy. It's lame, end of. Next up we have not getting revived. Yep, every single Battlefield player can relate to this one. We've all experienced it. We've all been writhing in the dirt, dying, calling out for a revive from the medic right by you, perhaps sometimes the multiple medics right by you. You're in cover, a perfectly safe revive, they could use smoke, they could do any number of things to help you, and they totally ignore you, or even run over your body, using you as a literal boost pad. It drives me insane personally, and I was going to go and get footage of me not reviving people for this section, but then I was like, nah man, I don't want to have a negative impact upon my teammates just for a video. And I'm sure you guys all know what it looks like regardless. But yeah, dude, honestly, the amount of times a teammate has actually physically run over my body for no reason. Like, some players pick medic and then make zero effort to use it for its core function. We all hate that. Even the bad medics who fail to revive are more than happy to complain when it happens back to them. them. So yeah, this was a big obvious one that gets complained about all of the time. Next we have being killed by that gun. So much like earlier with that map, every player seemingly hates being killed by a certain gun or guns. Some guns just drive some players up the wall, whether it's because they're overpowered, cheap, or just straight up irritating, or that player just doesn't understand that weapon. Sometimes the guns deserve it, and sometimes they don't. I've heard so many complaints about so many weapons. The Sten, the STG, the Lewis gun, the K7, any MMG, any shotgun, any bolt-action rifle, etc, etc. The list could go on until I've covered basically every gun in the game. However, I've chosen to show the Type 2A, the weapon that probably caused the biggest stir in Battlefield 5. This gun got so many people so mad, and also became incredibly overused at the same time, much like say the Hellriegel or the SMG08 in Battlefield 1. While all guns get complained about, some of them receive it to a much larger degree, and are sometimes much more deserving. The moral of the story being, most players just hate being killed, and so they'll often blame the gun rather than themselves. Next up we have when your team won't push. This one is infuriating. You want to capture a point, or get out a spawn, or acquire some map control, and you're doing everything you can to achieve that, and yet the bulk of your team just won't move forward, perfectly happy to stay exactly where they are, and likely dooming your team to failure. The amount of times I've personally found myself able to get in behind the enemy, or pull off a flank, or simply fight my way forward, only to realize that I've now basically just created a situation where I'm alone with the enemy and there's no hope of any allies joining me. And I know many of you listening will know exactly what I'm talking about. Or what about just those stalemates on something like Operation Underground? Two teams just staring at each other through a doorway, destined to remain that way for the entire round. It's nuts, dude. Let's have some movement. Okay, next we have when you can't see the enemy. And this could be part of the lack of movement on something like BF5. We've all heard the argument for both sides now about visibility in BF5, and to some degree in other Battlefield games, and whether you like it how it is or not is really by the by, because what most players hate regardless is being shot at or killed by players they can't see, especially if it happens all of the time, or if it's from 9 million different directions at once, as soon as they move. Now if we look at these examples of BF5 maps that I'm showing, it's clear this is going to happen a lot. There are likely thousands and thousands of places people can be in on any one map, some worse than others, and many of these places could be considered hiding spots or even camping spots. So of course this is going to happen all of the time, and I'm not criticizing that as such, simply highlighting that dying from places where you had no chance at seeing the enemy is going to be a regular occurrence. It's just part of Battlefield, and so this really winds some players up. How many times have you heard or even said, "Where am I being shot from?" I'm sure it's a huge amount. Now we come to tank camping. This is an issue that's pretty specific to Battlefield 5. Tanks are able to sit far off and basically snipe, and so they do, a lot. And regular vehicle players will tell you that the issue essentially lies within the balancing. The tanks are actually good at doing that, but are clunky and easily destroyed at closer ranges. And so, well, often, why would they move? It's pretty simple, but it doesn't stop it from being irritating. Okay, next we have downed allies not wanting to revive. Kind of the flip side of what I explained earlier, and almost as annoying. Again, I thought about getting footage of me skipping revives, but I don't want to be a pain for my teammates to deal with today. But basically, some allies will get downed in cover somewhere near you and wait approximately 0.3 seconds before skipping the revive, often costing the team and sometimes putting you personally in danger unnecessarily, not to mention wasting resources. The amount of times I've thrown smoke onto a downed ally, clearly moved closer to them, and they totally ignore all of that and skip the revive. Yep, I hate it, and lots of you probably do as well. And now we come to doing those assignments. Yep, pretty much a BF5 specific issue this one. So many of the assignments are ridiculous. I don't want to have to shoot enemies in the left foot with a shotgun from 70 meters while my mum hangs out in a nearby tree, or any other overly specific things that are counterintuitive to good gameplay and being an effective teammate. No thank you. And the actual list you have to use for them in the menus, just not well optimized or laid out. Not to mention only being able to work on 4 at once, and not being able to select new ones without leaving the lobby. So yeah, I agree with that one. Not a great system. And so, there's my list of 10 things Battlefield players hate. Now tell me which one is the worst, and any I missed out in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, hit the like button. If you want to see more and help me hit my current target of 50k subscribers, hit the subscribe button. And all the links to my social media, including Patreon, can be found in the description and my pinned comment. Or if you do support me on Patreon, you'll join the board of awesome you're seeing right here with all of the epic people who already do so. They're all absolute heroes, and I love them all deeply and of course often. So yep, all the links to that in the description and my pinned comments. And with that all said, I'm GetGoodGuy, and I'll see you next time. Laters. Every single game available in the world for all modes, and then calculate those players. If you was to do something like post the platform you're playing on, how many players there were in total, and what date it was recorded on, that would be awesome.